Hi, I'm Patrick, and this is the Baki Vlog. We're here at CES 2024. We're going to be talking with Blink Charging right now, so let's go. Okay, so we're here now in the Blink meeting room here at CES. We're really excited to meet with you guys again. If you guys don't know, like 2 years ago when CES was virtual, that was like one of our first interviews, and we were in our home office, but Mike was here at CES, so it's good to see you in person. We've done, I know, some other interviews, but go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then we'll dive into the conversation.
You know, I'm Brennan Jones. I'm the president and CEO of Blink Charging.
Yeah, I'm Patrick. Good to see you again. Mike Battaglia, the chief. What am I? Operating officer at Blink Charging? That's what it is.
Well, good to meet you. See you again. Good to meet you. So tell us, like, I know it's been a busy year for Blink. There's a lot of stuff going on with Blink specifically. So give us an update on where you guys are at now.
Absolutely. So Blink, had a very aggressive 2023, and it's our record revenues for the company, a stabilization and a growth of our margins on product sales, and also, introducing new and innovative product. We announced at CES last January 9 new products. Most of those have hit the market within this year, and a lot of it focused on moving towards what we call vertical integration. And that's where Blink manufactures, then sells, services, owns and operates its own equipment, its own network, and develops the software and firmware, both for its chargers and the network and the service providing that we do. So we see growth in all areas of the business. So it's been a really exciting year for us. And what we're looking for in 2024 is, the catchphrase is sustainability. Right. We see a lot of, let's say, drama out there in the general EV space and a lot of topics. Our job is to finish building this company so that it is sustainable beyond 2024 into 2025. And when we say sustainability, that means we don't need public funding. We don't need any more raises for cash, that we have the right products, the right services, and the right people, more importantly, to drive this into a sustainable future. And that is sort of a microcosm of what the EV industry needs as a whole. We need to create this sustainable future. And it's our mission statement at Blink.
And that's like, as an EV owner, that's been one of my concerns, is like I see a lot of companies that are out there that are spending money, but I know that they're getting subsidies. And I'm like, my concern is like, what happens when the subsidies run out? So it's good to see you guys are.
And that's our basic, that's one of our basic promises. Public funding is great, but we need to do it without it.
Right.
And when we get it, that just adds positively to the bottom line. It's not the path.
Yeah, you don't build the business on the funding, you build the business on the business, right? And then the funding is kind of a bonus.
And it's sort of funny because it's like, as new industries always crop up, it's like, in the end, business is still business. You gotta be sustainable in the business model, or else it's not gonna work.
And where we look to say, okay, so what's happening in the industry? What are these points of success? So we purchased 6 companies over the last 4 years.
Wow.
So, and we're done integrating all of them now. We have a lot more savings to reap out of that this year, that we're now on both expense avoidance, expense reduction, and revenue enhancement. But also those structural alignments and that innovative product that we've been able to manufacture, it won us the post office. And I'm sure you guys know that the post office was the single largest charger award in the history of the United States, 41,500 chargers. And we got a third plus. And why we say a third plus is what they tell us, and they might treat all their children this way, but we're their favorite child. We delivered on time. We did everything right. And to kind of put that in context, the revenue from the post office that we received at the end of this year and next year is more than we made in all of 2021. Wow. One customer. So that's how the industry is growing and changing, and that's how we've grown and changed. We started when Mike and I went on this crazy mission together, and we had about 40 employees, and some of those made it, some of those didn't. We have almost 700 now, and we operate in 29 different countries. We had 1 primary product line. We have 9 total product lines now plus across the board. We are now a full service provider. And what we mean by that is we never say no to a customer. If there's an infrastructure need that's out there today, whether it's municipal, whether it's fleet, whether it's private, whether it's commercial public facing, we have a solution. And we never force a solution on a customer because we own and operate equipment, we sell equipment, we'll partner on capital investment. They do a little, we do a little, and we're unlike anybody else because most of the competition either just sells equipment, just owner operates an equipment, and when they go meet with a potential customer, they go, well, this is what we do. And we say, well, what do you need? What do you need for your space? If it's an apartment building owner and he has a garage, what do you need? Here's our tailored solutions for you. Which one works best for you?
So I'm assuming a lot of people don't know what they need. So do you guys help out with that part?
And I'll tell you,
it's a big part of our business.
Yeah, and I use this state of affairs often, which is when you look at the fleet space and we get approached by fleet customers, almost 100% of the time, their initial reaction is they need a whole bunch of DC fast chargers.
Right.
And then when we start to talk to them, we start to understand the size of their fleet and the duty cycles and how big the batteries are, and all those different components, right? We realize that more often than not, they need a fraction of the number of DC fast chargers that they originally thought they needed, and they need a whole bunch of L2s. So we just provided a much more cost-effective solution for them that meets the needs of the business, right? And that's just one example. And we carry that through to even multifamily apartment buildings is a great example because there's, you can kind of tackle that a few different ways. One way is you can put a charging station in every single tenant parking spot.
Right.
But another way to tackle it is, hey, let's designate a bank of parking spaces that have EV chargers installed in them, and the tenants can rotate through and use them as they need them, right? So there's not a one-size-fits-all to this. And, I think oftentimes customers come into the EV infrastructure space with a notion of what they need to do. And it's incumbent upon us to really provide that education and provide some alternatives that either enhance that experience, make it more cost-effective, whatever that may be, right? So yeah, it's daily for us.
Yeah, I can imagine because we, just dealing with consumers that are other Mach-E owners, it's like a lot of them, when they first get their Mach-E, they're like, I need to charge at home. But
All
what
the
does
time.
that mean? Well, yeah.
When you first get your car, you're plugging it
so
in every single day, right? You don't need to, right?
Everybody's like, how can I get the absolute fastest charging?
Mm-hmm.
And we have our charger derated. So we charge at 32 amps instead of 40 or 48 amps because we don't need to. And it's actually with our, it would have been way more expensive because we have to do a panel upgrade if we wanted to charge faster.
Yep.
Save money, and it's adequate for our
And
needs.
you know what? When you go to sleep at night and plug it in and you wake up in the morning, it's full, whether it's 32 amps or 40 amps or,
And that's something else we try to do is because a lot of people will ask, how long does it take to charge when you get home? And I'm like, it's charged when I wake up. I don't care. Do I care if it's done at 2:30 or 4:30?
Right.
And this is our job in education, right? A lot of the space things, because we've evolved, that we have to stop the education. But no, because we have new players in the space. We have new stakeholders in the space. Every day, as market share goes from, in California, from 25 to 35 on up to 40, eventually to 100, you're bringing new stakeholders in. And they might think the dominant fueling model is you got to go to a depot. Right. And that's the paradigm. We got to continue to educate to shatter that paradigm. DOT stats, 95% of the time the vehicle stats. Easiest type of capital deployment is a simple L2 charger. It is so less capital intensive. And you can do it in no days. It takes less than a week for us to permit a DC fast charging. A L2 station. Yeah. It takes us sometimes a year plus on a DC, depending on the jurisdiction. And you can put them in fraction of the cost and just go.
Yeah, and that's why we call it community charging, right? It's a charger anywhere someone lives, works, shops, plays. And you can install level 2 charging at all of those places very, very rapidly, and as Brendan mentioned, very cost effectively, right? So that's the thing. That's kind of the paradigm is if I'm at the gym, I can plug in for an hour while I'm at the gym. If I'm at the movies, I'm gonna be there for a couple hours, right? Even doctor's offices. The amount of level 2 chargers that we're installing in healthcare is incredible.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It's incredible.
It's a great dwell time experience, and they walk out, whatever kilowatts they dispense getting there, they're now back in the car.
Right.
And that's the future, that we need to make sure people get that. And part of the problem is the share of voice, and and you guys know share of voice, right? So we're looking at here, and the share of voice is all DC, and so people are thinking that is the solution, and no. Right. And all the data, whether it's McKinsey, Bloomberg, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Waterhouse, and others. I always say Waterhouse wrong. I know it's really frustrating.
It's a mouthful.
But they all say the same thing. One says 97% of the kilowatts that are dispensed are all going to be from level 2 globally.
Yeah. So look, our perspective is there's no question that there is a role for DC fast charging. It's along highway corridors. Right. It's to enable long distance travel. All of those things, right? So it is 100% necessary. But it takes up this disproportionate share of the conversation when there is this need out there that is level 2 community charging that we can fill it rapidly, and we can make a real impact on that perception or that resistance from EV intenders that, hey, I may not buy an EV because I'm worried about the infrastructure. And we can overcome that in a relatively short period of time with that community charging L2 footprint.
That sounds awesome. Now, you both mentioned the field is changing. There's a lot of stuff going on in the EV field. On the fast charging side, everybody's excited because NACS and opening up the supercharger network. First of all, how does that trickle down? But how does, from our perspective, what we've seen is it seems like everybody is throwing their hat in the ring. Everybody wants to get a charging product out there. Two parts, how do you see the NACS stuff translate into what you guys are doing, and then how do you sort of ward off all of these people that are just
So the first part, Patrick, is a very anticlimactic answer for you, all right? And it is simply that we're going to put NACS cables on the chargers, and we've already started doing it, right? So for us, it's really about managing through this transition of OEMs that are still producing cars that have CCS, right? They have J1772 connectors, and then eventually in the next couple of years moving to NACS, right? So, what we're doing are things like we're introducing dual port level 2 chargers. One side's a NACS, one side's a J1772, right? And then eventually, when the market catches up to being, dominantly NACS, all we have to do is put 2 NACS cables on rather than one, right? And so, that's that aspect of it. The second aspect of it is, I think I might have even used this term with you before, but there are EV charging companies popping up and they're hanging shingles outside saying that they sell EV chargers. And I think we actually kind of hit the peak of that happening. And now we're starting to see consolidation. We're starting to see some of these guys go away. And what they've realized is that it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is, and it requires more capital than you anticipated.
Than you ever guessed.
Right. So there is a collapse in that happening. There is a consolidation, and quite frankly, we're not worried about it. We are focused on Blink. We're focused on delivering the right products, right time, right price. Making sure that the technology's there, that the software is top notch. All of those things that translate into a superior EV charging experience, and bottom line, focused on uptime. Right. So for us, it is a central component. In fact, it's my job at the company to make sure that uptime is there, and he reminds me of that all the time. So, I got to do it.
The interesting thing is that, there was so much around NACS, right, and the whole Tesla thing, and we decided we weren't worried about it. We take a peek. So we go, what is our number one customer by brand anyway, guys? Because we're always looking at our stations and we see Teslas, parked on them. And so our guy who does that went and looked, he goes, oh, it's Tesla by a long shot, 33 or 34%.
At least.
He goes, I go, so of everyone, they dominated. Then it's all scattered among a whole bunch of different brands. He goes, oh yeah, every day. So they were already plugging in. And so now when you put an NACS cable on, and Tesla needs that, and it's what we like to bring to the industry is that the consistency of voice that, I don't want to say we're the truth sayers, but we don't have to worry about dominating in DC or dominating in L2. We can always speak the truth.
Right.
Because we do both.
Because we do both.
Right.
And the thing about, nobody is going to be able to charge on the legacy Tesla network. The only thing that's going to solve for these new AMs is charging stations moving forward. Mm-hmm. That legacy network is pure Tesla.
Right. Yeah.
But everybody has this belief, we can charge on the Tesla network. Well, first, there's not a car coming out for 24 months that is going to be NACS capable. So, guys, we got to keep building.
Right.
That there's no magic bullet. That was a great soundbite for Tesla. Their stock went up. It was good for GM and Ford. Their stock went up.
Yes.
But we got a huge amount of chargers. If we look at the baseline number, and we think, let's just take 35% pen rate by 2030. That's 30 million chargers needed in the United States at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And we got 4 million in. So that's 26 million plus. 90 to 95% of those are going to be L2. Put in that, and that's just for 35% pen rate. Now, California will be there, and then you look at the California share, it's going to be enormous of that. And then the other ZEV states who have moved over to the 2035 mandate, they're going to be there too. And, that's a lot of L2 chargers. That's a lot of pie. But before we get there, we have to create a sustainable company that looks at, hey, we can do this. And not only can we do this, but it's the right thing for the future. You can have entrepreneurial companies like Blink, and you can have other big conglomerates that are getting into the game simultaneously. But that's what the future holds. And we don't want to be, I'm doing this as an experiment because we have some money and we want to show that we're a little green, so we're going to play a role in infrastructure. That's not our mission.
Blink is charging and charging and charging.
And charging and charging.
Yeah.
Our goal is to create sustainability and change the world one charger at a time. And we're going to continue to do that.
Well, that's really cool. So, any other accomplishments from 2023 or future cool things in 2024 you want to highlight?
Biggest accomplishment is, when we look at the financial side of the company, it's going to be the greatest year in the history of the company. And so, when we gave our Q3 guidance out, we said we're going to hit all the revenue targets for the rest of the year. That's done. We're going to hit our margin targets for the rest of the year. That's done. The focus for 2023 is going to continue with the L2 product and enhance it, move more of the product portfolio to full vertical integration. We're about 60% right now. In 2024, the goal is to get to 80%.
Meaning everything we do it ourselves. We manufacture it, we write the firmware for it, we do everything. So we control our own destiny, right? And when something happens, we can fix it. Right, we're not worried and dependent upon anybody else in the ecosystem to try to do it for us.
And the great part is that we've secured our DC fast chargers for NEVI compliance built in America. We've secured our L2 chargers for NEVI built in America for the second and third tranche of funding. So we're in a great spot for that. We're going to launch our big manufacturing facility for L2, upping the capacity to 50,000 units a year in Bowie, Maryland, shortly here. Nation's capital is right there. So that, and then secured the supply on the supply side on the DCs. And as Mike mentioned, DC with NACS before, done out there. Then throughout the rest of the year is a push towards cost competitiveness and then secondarily expense avoidance and reduction to hit the commitment we've made to the street of being EBITDA positive by December 2024.
And when we do that, especially here, the tie-in for your listeners is when we do that and we become a strong company, we can reinvest, right? We can continue to come out with better products, with better software, all of those things that, all the folks out there that are driving Mach-E's and they're driving other EVs, that they want out of that charging experience, right? And it's got to be reliable and it's got to be easy and it's got to be all those things, right? And we're not perfect, but we're making progress every single day. There's no question.
And I mean, it's EVs have been out for a while, Tesla's been out for a while, but we're still very early days. So it seems like you guys are moving all the building blocks in place and ready to launch for the next part, the big transition to where everybody's starting to get an EV.
So, it's funny. So I started in 2008 and we had to figure out what EV charging was, right? And I was on the Nissan Leaf project and I ended up leading it after a couple of years. But, we didn't know what a charger is. And somebody brought one in. It was this paddle charger that was used for these hybrid Toyota RAV4s, right? I'm looking at this paddle charger. I had no idea what I was looking at. Of course, that moved to the standard. And then the arguments back then were, and GM was big on this argument. Britta Gross, who's a good friend of mine, she's like, well, Brendan, we only need 110 because, of course, the Volt at that time, was a small little battery.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we need that and we need DC. And I'm about to put cars on the market that has a DC fast charging capability. And, we've evolved so much with that. 50 kilowatt DC fast charging was heresy back then.
Yeah.
It was just like, you're crazy. We can do some 24, but 50 kilowatts? Are you kidding me? And now we're doing 400 kilowatts. And we're at the beginning. In 1918, Henry Ford came out with the first mass-produced car. And then it started the proliferation of fueling stations. And we look at how they've evolved and how in this new fueling paradigm, we're still at the beginning of that technology curve. And look how it's going to evolve. And you have to position your company to be nimble, to be entrepreneurial, to be not afraid of change, to be dedicated to constant improvement every day.
And take some risks.
And if you do that, you're going to evolve with everything else. And for the love of God, it's okay to fail. Learn.
Yeah.
Learn.
Yeah.
We are a product of our mistakes. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong because we're better today than we were yesterday. So look towards the past. Learn from that past. Failure's not stop. It's okay. You know, how do you think we got on the moon? Because a lot of failures before that. You know, and keep that attitude in your company. Go, don't poke anybody because they failed. They tried. And I'd rather have somebody doing that than being afraid.
I may mess up all the details, but I remember hearing years ago, like Motorola used to reward the engineer with the best failure of the year. And it wasn't necessarily like the most spectacular or anything like that, but it was like, this was a good idea, didn't actually work out, but they tried.
But he went for it.
Yeah, and that's how you unlock the creativity within the organization.
Exactly.
Right? Because you have to enable that, and people have to feel like that they can put those ideas forward and, you know, blah, 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 blah.
If
right?
everybody just comes out with the safe ideas,
Yep, exactly.
we're stuck.
Yep.
We don't want anything safe.
Innovation.
Yeah.
They challenge me pretty good now. Yeah. He leads the charge excellently. He'll get like high marks in that category.
There we go.
That's just because I have more hair than him, that's all.
Did you have anything, or we?
No, I love this conversation. So you guys are planning to do a lot of this in-house, a lot on your own. So as you expand to meet the 2035 goals, it's a lot to take on. I'm assuming customer service, you're going to have people contacting you and obviously maintaining the units. Do you have plans to expand those departments?
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's a great question. And, you know, there's a number of different ways to tackle it. One is, of course, you need more people, right? Just as the industry grows, as we grow, you're going to have more people. But where we're really trying to focus is what are the technology solutions that will enable us to identify and react more quickly, right? So that we're not just kind of constantly, you know, growing the employee base or whatever it might be. What we want to do is enable the employees that we have to be more successful, right? And to be more efficient, and to make it, quite frankly, to make it easier for them to diagnose and go out and fix, you know, what we need to fix, right? So it's coming from a number of different aspects, but it's not just more people, it's better technology, better systems, the network, the Blink network that we're developing, providing things like proactive monitoring, we call it, right? So what that means is, and we just launched it internally at Blink, is when a charger goes down, instead of us having to kind of hunt and peck and try to find it, the network alerts us that this charger's down. And what we hope to accomplish is, whether we own the charger or not, is that we can address that issue before the location and the folks at the location even realize it's an issue. And some of the things we can fix remotely, and other things we have to dispatch a technician, right? But whatever it is, our goal is to make it quicker, more efficient, more reliable.
Yeah. Our philosophy towards it is, it's not different, but, you know, it's that as we continue to expand in the U.S. and Europe, in Greece, even in Southeast Asia, where we have a couple study projects going on now, we want to react locally and think globally. And, you know, when we think about the way we're positioned, we have, you know, assembly and manufacturing in the U.S., and we got that in 2 different locations, each coast. Phoenix, Arizona, nation's capital. Then we have a parts manufacturing and finished goods manufacturing plant in India. And then in India also we have a development center. So we support countries through 2 different methodologies. You know, we can support through India, we can support through the US, we can support through Europe. And then we can have economies of scale across the board. So what can be done on a global basis is done, to redouble down on local resources, to react locally to the market. So they don't have to do the things that we can do globally. They can focus on the market. And that's the way we built this system. It's not overly bureaucratic. It's smart. It's do it the most efficient way.
Sounds great.
Ooh,
I think,
excited.
yeah, I'm excited. Thank you both for sharing in this conversation. And I know we'll see you next year with bigger and better
Absolutely.
things and see where you guys are at. But also as an EV driver or as EV drivers, we appreciate what you guys are doing and helping us to be able to charge more and more places. So appreciate it.
Yeah,
Sure,
thanks, guys.
absolutely.
Good to see you again.